The Jupiter trial studied the benefits of rosuvastatin 20 milligrams by mouth daily versus placebo. The primary outcome of the trial was the occurrence of a first major cardiovascular event, defined as nonfatal myocardial infarction, nonfatal stroke, hospitalization for unstable angina, an arterial revascularization procedure, or confirmed death from cardiovascular causes. At the time of the study termination, 142 first major cardiovascular events had occurred in the rosuvastatin group, as compared to with 251 in the placebo group. P-value equals 0.00001. Each arm had 8,901 patients. What was the relative risk reduction if randomized to rosuvastatin in this trial? So the question is asking for relative risk reduction, which is abbreviated RRR. So there's actually two formulas for relative risk reduction. It's 1 minus relative risk, but that's not in the question, and this is not very helpful. So the other formula for relative risk reduction is the control event rate minus the EER, which is the experimental event rate, all divided by the CER, which is the control event rate. So finding this control event rate is pretty easy, because anytime you see the word placebo is the control. So what is the proportion? So it's 251. So this is the CR. I'm writing the proportion down. It's 251 over, and each arm had 8,901 patients. So this is just the CER right here. This proportion here, 251 over 8901. And then I have to subtract that by the experimental event rate, which is this proportion, 142 over the total in this experimental group, which is 8901 also. And then now divide this all by, again, the same number, the same proportion, control event rate, 251 over 8901. And so you have a very basic calculator, so you have to calculate this first. 251 over 8901, that equals 0.028199908. Subtract that by this proportion, so calculate this proportion, 142 over 8901. That equals 0.0159536. All divided by the same proportion that I calculated earlier, 251 over 8901. So I'm just going to copy this number here, 0.028199908. And then when I solve for this in my basic calculator, I should get 0.43422631, which is the same thing as 43%. So 43 is their answer. So this question, always remember that these control event rates, they're rates. That's what this R stands for, rate. So rate is a proportion. And remember that control is usually the placebo. So if they have placebo here, you know that's a control event rate. And you got to find the number in that group that had some sort of event occur, which is 251, divided by the total number in that group. And coincidentally, this group, in both groups, the control and the experimental group, they both had the same number of patients. So that's why I divided both of them by 8901. But usually these two numbers are different. They have different number of patients, different number. So yeah, so if you have any questions, please leave it in the comments.